Well, let's start looking at arrays. They're very, very similar. Let's just push that there for a minute so it doesn't distract. They're very similar to the collections that we get from getElement by tag name. But remember, with getElement by tag name, the element itself, there were some HTML over here, told us what these values were going to be. With arrays, we can set our own values. So here's how we would use a variable to create an array. I could have var stuff equals, and then this is a square bracket here, and this is a square bracket here. This is an array of strings, but I could make an array of just about anything. I could make an array of integers, of floating point numbers. I could make an array of all kinds of stuff. It's just that for this example, I'm using an array of strings. So the indexing works the same way it did for the collections. Stuff 0 is this first one. Stuff 1 is the second one, 2 is the third one, and 3 is the fourth one right there. And we can use the length on it, and that tells us how many things are in it, and that value is 4. And this works again the same way it did for the collections. If we have a k that's greater than 3, we have an error. If we have a k that's less than 0, we have an error. So that's kind of the overall concept of arrays. Here's our grid flipping program. And you'll see that it works the same way it did before. All right, so let's look at the code. The code is going to be identical except for our initialization right here. You notice that outside of this function, we have created two arrays. The first array has C1 vals, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. And this one has C2 vals is the name of it, appns C2 vals. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what these arrays are providing, this is the first color. So if I come back here, you'll notice that the first cell, that one right there, is Alice blue. The next one is crimson. The next one is slate blue right there. The next one here is Alice blue again right there. Goldenrod is this next one. Slate blue again here. Goldenrod here. This slate blue, this value gives the slate blue there. And this crimson is the crimson there. And if I flip this one, you notice how this is fuchsia. Let's come down to here, and you notice that the very last thing in this array is fuchsia. So we're just using these arrays to hold the values, and this is actually very useful because we can change these. If we want to change this, we can just change the values in the arrays and everything else works. So how do we do that? Well, here's our function, and we get the cells. So here we're using, UTL tag. We haven't seen that before, have we? Before we were doing tags. With the full get element whatever. We now have a new util2.js, and it has util tag, and what happens here is we put in the ID of the first thing. So this is the thing that provides the scope, and then we provide the tag name after here. And so by just doing this with these two parameters, we can do the whole get element, by ID whatever, get elements by tag name. The one thing this won't work for is if we wanted to just get the tags for the entire document, but that's a rare case. And if we want to do that, you can do that by hand. We could put another function in here. Maybe we will later. But this is the most common case. And so we've got a shorthand for this now, the same way we did with document get element by ID. And so that's what we're using here, is that we're getting everything in tab 1. And tab 1 is this table right here. That's this table. We're getting everything in there, and so we're getting every TD in there. So that's what we're looking for. So here's how we can do it with tables. And since there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cells in there, we have 9 colors. These are all the colors that first appear. These are all the colors that appear after you click it. And So the for loop is actually pretty easy. We have the cells, and remember we wanted to create data set C1V, and that'll just get the value from here. So when I is 0, the 0 cell, that's that one, will get as its appns C1 value, this will be 0 as well, because this is I here and this is I here, it's the same thing. It'll get Alice Blue. And here, the second color, so again for cell 0, the second color 0 is sienna, and if I click that you can see we got sienna there. So, so this puts the second color in and it takes it from right there. So this part is going into here when I is 1, and this is going into here when I is 1. And then here we're setting the background color to whatever the first color that we set was here, okay? And finally, we set it to color 1. Remember, we used this, this data set call to tell us which color we were displaying, whether it was color 1 or color 2. And so this tells it that we're displaying color 1. So this is going to start displaying color 1 all the way through. And that's really all there is to it. Now, if I reload, you see that this happens. If I were to change this, this is Alice Blue, if I were to change this here to yellow, and I were to reload, suddenly that's yellow, just by changing this. So that's how we can use arrays to initialize things. So let's go back. This was Alice Blue. I want to put it back to what it was. And I reload and I get Alice Blue here. So that's how you can use arrays to store values that you then want to put into elements and initialize the elements with the values from the array.